Okay. The first thing to look out for given scatter diagrams, match them with the appropriate R value. I.e. the, what was it called? The linear correlation coefficient. You write better in the next one. So basically you have a question that gives you a bunch of scatter plots and they give you a bunch of R values. You got to figure out, okay, which one? In other words, do you remember what a positive R value means, what it means to be close to 1 or -1? What type of correlation that is, what type of shape will the data have? Okay. If your data is kind of going linear, it looks linear, increasing, then it'd be a positive value, right? It's going down, but it's linear of -1. If it's not linear, it looks weird, then it shouldn't be close to 1. Okay. So stuff like that. That's what I mean by number 1. This computer doesn't give me problems like last time. Okay. Does that make sense for number 1? That clear? Okay. Let me know. You can add more details. Number 2. Given data, and you find y hat. That is to say, it is the regression equation for a line. So using the data, do regression and give me the y hat equation. Remember, it was equal to this. B1 or B not? I want to say it was B0. Is it B1 first? BO. B1 X plus BO. B not. B sub 0. Okay. So you remember when we punched into Excel, right? It would calculate B1 and B0 for you. So just find them on the spreadsheet if you use Excel or. They will also tell you how much to round to. So make sure you pay attention. I mean, either way, I'm going to go in and grade it. So if you're off by a little bit, I'll fix it eventually. Just keep that in mind. Try to get it right the first time, but don't stress over it if you don't. Okay. Remember which part is the intercept and which part is the slope. Don't forget. I'm assuming you all remember, but just in case, they may ask you which one is which. Any questions on being able to find this? Is that doable? If once you have this, can you make a prediction about the future? Like, can you choose an X and plug it in? Like, let's say X is, I don't know. Like price or something, right? You plug in the price, calculate it, and you find what Y hat would be if X is something else. Okay, so that might be another part. Use this to predict future Y values given some X. Stuff like that. Number 3, be able to analyze, okay, right, like a normal person. Be able to analyze residual plots. Right, I told you, given this plot, it was in the homework, and I think it's also in the notes. And determine, is there an error variance? Is it not random? That type of stuff. So you had those definitions. Okay, so make sure you look at residual plots. There should be homework questions exactly like that. Like, given this plot, is it this or that? Okay. Given data, be able to calculate R squared. The coefficient of determination. Also remember, what does it mean? How do you find it with Excel? Okay. You can also use StackCrunch if you want. So you can use whatever you like, either one. Just make sure you know what it means, and you can give me the R squared. Any questions on this so far? Is that clear? Number 5, let's see. Be able to calculate relative or frequency marginal distribution relative frequency marginal distribution. Given a table. So like a little table that we did. Do you remember doing that? We had a couple of categories. We found the frequency and then the relative frequency marginal distribution. It wasn't too bad. In your homework and in the notes. Okay, and that's pretty much all of chapter 4 that I'm going to ask about, I think. But don't quote me yet. I'll know soon. Number 6, be able to find the probability of P or F. So make sure you have that formula with you, depending if it's mutually exclusive or not. There was 2 of them. Yeah, yeah, you can bring your notes if you like. Seven. Be able to find the probability of E and F, but don't rely too much on your notes because we don't have a lot of time, right? So you have to make sure you know what you're doing. So this class goes by really quick. Be able to find probability of E, F, E or F, E and F, and probability of F given E using a table. I think we did one of those, right? We had a table of different things, and then we found, okay, what's the probability of this happening given that that happened, or just straight up, what is this chance of it being? I think it was yeah, it was males married and not married, women married and not married. It was similar to that example. I would go over that again, but just with more, maybe a little bit more difficult. But I'm sure there was other stuff in that homework if you finished it. Then there was a question with like different colored balls, right? The probability of choosing different colored look at that question again. Back in the homework, it was something about, it was like a red, green, orange ball, right? There's a certain number of each, and what's the chance of grabbing a red one, or whatever, at random? Look at probabilities for excuse me, for Oh, yeah. What do we call them? Conditional. Complement. For events and their complement. I'm just going to give you already giving you tons of hints here, but number 8, make sure you spend a lot of time. Additional probability of all the different things. That example. If you haven't finished that homework, or if you did, go back and look at those times. I think a lot of points here. I don't want you to mess that part up. Okay. There is also a bonus question in there. If you have time, right? Look into correlation. So given some data, stuff about correlation, scatter plots, regression, all that stuff will be in the bonus. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, that's pretty much everything you're going to see. All this is chapter 5. The rest is chapter 4. 6 through 10 is chapter 5. Chapter 5. Yes. Next of cards. And that would be similar to that would be the balls. Okay. Let's use the rest of the time to do homework. I think that's everything you need to know, or you should be expecting. Opened everything. Everything will close the day before we return from spring break. Okay. So if you want to use that time to catch up, you can. And if not, well, that's your life. Everything, chapter 1 through 5 is open until the end of spring break. Then when we get back, we're starting 6, I think, 6 or 7.
Probabilities are in the experiment versus it's like.
Oh, let me see. I don't think so.
I know that was on the homework analysis.
It was like, oh, like the empirical. No. Yeah, that was a little weird, but I mean, I saw what they were doing. Like if you didn't know that it was heads or tails, like it was just some random thing popping out, like, okay, well, this is the data that I have, so let's see the assumption that you've made. That's the idea. But when you know what it is, it's kind of strange. Yeah, you won't see that.